Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah, and I'm here with Sarah and Loren, and I'm curious and excited to learn more about this Earthly Desire retreat that's going to be happening in September in the beautiful area of Nevada County and California. And so, yeah, here's Sarah and Loren.
Hi, Hannah.
Hey, Hannah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to tell us just a little bit about what the retreat is, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I would love to. So this retreat is one of my favorite kind of bodies of work, things to share with people because it's really closest to my heart. Like this eco-erotic practice has been hugely important in my journey, and it's really about combining our natural love of nature with our erotic and sensual bodies and our erotic and sensual beings, and allowing those two things to be in the same place at the same time and in the same experiences. So over the years, I've kind of crafted these different exercises and experiences that enable people to have permission to explore those parts of themselves. And I know for me, and I think for other people too, it can be really healing to allow both of those parts of ourselves to exist at the same time. There's like a real kind of wholeness and healing that happens as a result. So this is a 3-day retreat, starts on a Friday and it goes to a Sunday. And that's really the through line that connects the exercises and the work and the play that we'll be doing together. So yeah, Loren, you want to speak about a little bit about it, why you felt excited about it, and why
Yeah.
really the reason I'm doing this is because Loren invited me. So
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's going to be at our beautiful homestead, Sarah Waters Homestead, right next to Nevada City in California. And we have a beautiful spot to host gatherings, a beautiful swimming pond and beautiful camping area. And it's made for gatherings. I've always been fully supported and dropped into nature for my own sense of nourishment and connection and to my spirituality. And I've always found that my erotic energy also comes alive and seems to flow when I'm in nature. And to meet someone, Sarah, who has put the two together into a shared experience with other people, I found very exciting. So I'm super excited to host Sarah here to facilitate and for me to co-host, co-hold it and co-facilitate. I'm very excited to be brought into the work by her in a way as a mentor. Even though I've done so much facilitation and holding of space before, I'm excited about really stepping into this work with Sarah and with the group, whoever shows up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I noticed that, the word erotic comes from the god or goddess of Eros, right? It comes from Eros. And I am just kind of stepping into learning more about that. And I would love to hear more about the erotic energy and how it's divine and its connection to that force.
I'd love to share about this, and then I know Loren has things to contribute too. Eros, I love to work with Eros because Eros is this portal for personal growth and learning that's really unlike any other portal. Like, you can work with plant medicine, you can work with breath work, and all, these things will bring you often to an altered state of consciousness. And Eros to me feels like the portal it's the easiest to integrate to our soul, because it really goes to our identity in this really like fundamental way. And Eros really is life force energy. I mean, that's like the simple definition of it. Eros is so present in nature. You hear birds out there make mating calls, like, bees, like all of the plants, like all of the animals, all the living organisms are, their lives are basically oriented around Eros. And as humans, in some ways we're no different. Like we think about it all the time and it's running through our bodies, but don't necessarily have a way to express it on a daily basis and aren't necessarily attuned to it and kind of allowing it to flow in a shame-free and beautiful way into our life. So, yeah, so I love to create containers where people can really play with it in a very innocent and as safe a way as possible. Whenever you're playing with Eros, it's impossible to create like what we would call a safe space entirely because there's always a risk. There's a lot of feelings and trauma and things that come up around playing with Eros. But it's my job and Lauren's job and anyone who's helping to hold the space and participants too to create as safe a space as possible for us to play with this very wild and often transgressive energy. There's my quick answer, I guess. Lauren, what do you want to speak to?
Thank you. That was lovely. No, I agree. I see Eros as another word for life force, and I see it as part of the toroidal field that rises up through us from the root chakra on up through and goes around and goes through the earth and back up through. And I think many of us have been educated to really shut down our root chakra and our sexual energy and that erotic movement of life force through us, which then really stifles us and dissociates us from our aliveness and our full expression of who we are. And I think that, like with Sarah, the coming together in a safe container where we're all self-responsible and also co-creating the space allows us to shed another layer of shame and step into a greater sense of freedom and liberation to feel alive. I mean, nature, the earth is our ground of being. It is our full support system. And I think it's so important to help remember who we are. We're earth beings, how we connect to the earth, and to start allowing the life force to really flow through us continually and feel alive and whole and become whole again. And that just allows so much more joy and happiness and fulfillment and connection and shame-free living. I think it's a step into really remembering who we really are and to co-create healthy communities and healthy relationships, to know how to express the fullness of who we really are and let ourselves feel that alive without shame or fear. And so the safe container and the well curated shared exercises, I think, are very helpful way for people to learn how to step into that again and remember.
Yeah. As I'm feeling into this with you two, I'm realizing that it might be fun rather than answering the question in words to just kind of do a little experiential experiment here for a second and just kind of imagine ourselves like being together out in the woods or out in at Lauren's place and just like running around or playing, in the water maybe, but just like being in that place of real freedom where you just feel that sense of being able to play with each other as sisters, as brothers, as humans. Um, and just like if you can even like let yourself feel it in your pelvic bowl and even in your genitals, like just to like just here we're just playing, there's no one judging you or making you show up in a certain way. You might even be able to go back to how you felt as a kid when you're just like running around like as the sun is setting, catching fireflies or whatever you were doing. Like that kind of feeling is the feeling that we're hoping to create together. So
Mm.
I know I'm like letting myself kind of feel that a little bit as we're talking.
Yeah.
That's the energy I want to be bringing when we're together. And I'd love to just bring that into even the
Lovely.
Lovely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I'm recognizing that how we maybe have been conditioned as people from being a child to a grown up, and how maybe in that kind of connection to that flow of energy from our root kind of getting suppressed, or how sexual energy and our erotic energy has been made to be shameful in some way, or many of us have had some experience where there was a moment in time where then we were no longer safe to be in connection with that part of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious about, you both talked about the container and the safety that's being created, and how there isn't really like saying something's absolutely safe is kind of hard to claim. And I've heard other people speak to, like, there's brave spaces, like where the people in it make it safe by being brave enough to really be authentic and real with what's happening for them. So I'm just curious a little bit about, like, what are the things that create that container? Like, what are the agreements, or what are the things that we do to, is it communication styles, or what is it that's making that container for us that we'll be stepping into?
Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, we'll definitely create some agreements together, and I think that's really important. Things around privacy and about not commenting on each other's bodies, not giving advice. Like, those are some of the things that we generally agree to and talk about, as well as like not yucking someone's yum. These are all things that we'll run through and talk about. And I think the bigger thing that actually creates that sense of safety is connection.
Mhm.
So one of the first exercises that we'll do is, many people have probably done this kind of thing, inside outside circle, where it's also known as a puja sometimes in tantric circles, but where you have a chance to connect with each person in the circle and do some sort of a little exercise with each person. And so after you've gone through and kind of had that connection with each person, it just, like, I think it just relaxes everyone's nervous system, because we're all just like, okay, at least now I know who's in the room. Like, I've looked into the eyes, at least for a moment, of each person, and I may not know their name, I may not know where they're from, I may not know all of their details, but I have a sense of a heart connection or some sort of a embodied connection with each person. And that, in my experience, is really the most powerful way to build safety and a sense of permission. Well, permission's a little different. Permission comes from then people kind of using the space and stepping in with brave shares. And that really deepens the permission field of, like, people start to feel like, oh, I can really, like, lean into this space. Oh, I can do that here. Oh, I can share this. Oh, okay. And then it sort of deepens from there. So
Mhm.
some of the things.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, I'm curious about the the weekend and how much time we're going to be kind of in that group field, or how much time we're going to be having independent time with nature and ourselves, or yeah, what that balance looks like. And
Yeah.
you can share
We're going to be doing both.
Mhm.
They really feed on each other. That we'll be using the group container to kind of give that sense of, like, kind of emboldening. It's like, when you know that, like, everyone there is for a shared purpose, then when you are sent off on your own to go do, like, we'll be building little nature altars and also be doing little personal sadhanas where each person will get a chance to spend some time alone on the land, and to have that conversation, with a tree, or with the land itself, or with the creek, or wherever each person ends up feeling drawn. But the depth of the container and the interconnection with the other people then makes it easier to go deeper when you're on your own. And then what you then experience on your own and bring back to the group and share then enables the group to go deeper together. So it sort of like the work feeds one another.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I imagine, you know, big things could arrive for people, and there could be, the need to process like something that's really coming up for someone. And I was just curious about, um, if that was to happen for someone, how is that tended to in this um, in this environment? You know, is it held by group? Is it held one-on-one? Does it depend on, what's happening, or what are yeah, what's that look like?
Yeah, I think it does depend to some degree because I do think that there are some things that come up in the group that can be held by the group,
Mhm,
that really serve the group in that way. And
mhm,
I think that's also why we have a staff like Lauren and I'll both be available to support for those kinds of things, as well as I think we'll have other support staff also, um,
mhm.
to support things that come up. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think if someone has a trigger response that needs tending to, that they can have some one-on-one time with someone to help self-regulate and reground and come back to present. And um, I agree that very many times then bringing back that, whatever it was, to the group, that really strengthens the container, the sense of belonging, the sense of trust in the group, and everybody gets to learn from that. And it really helps weave connection and care
yeah.
because there's so much co-holding.
And I do want to say that this work, like if someone is, in a really acute state of, activation or trauma response, this might not be the right retreat for them. So it's not, I do feel like it's healing work, um, but it's not necessarily the right fit for everyone. So I think I would encourage if someone feels like, they might be already too destabilized, or that to have a conversation with me or Lauren and to kind of suss that out ahead of time, and just we can hopefully come to a decision together about if it's the right place.
Hmm.
That's great. Thank you. Um, well, I'm wondering if I have any more questions. This sounds wonderful, and I'm very excited. When I heard about it, for me personally, I realized just like everything you've said about feeling alive and connected, and the fullness of our wholeness, and to allow all the parts of ourselves to be welcomed and embraced, and even celebrated, and how much our connection to nature can feed that, how we can lean into that connection to nature if we can access it. And so just opening that portal of access to our wholeness is so exciting for me, and I'm really excited to participate and be there, and yeah, I'm wondering about maybe the size of the group. Like,
Mm.
this feels like there's maybe an ideal number, or like kind of like where it's intimate enough but not too intimate and not too big, or what does that look like? What's the size, the number of participants? Like, what are we looking for ideally to have?
My sense is we're going to end up with about a dozen people, and that's usually a good number of people. It might be a little more, it might be a little less, but that's kind of that's a number that usually ends up feeling good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about like, I'm really excited to come with my husband, but I'm just curious, like, I want for us to have an individual experience, but also to be able to bring it into our relationship. And I'm wondering how much, like if you come by yourself, or if you come with a partner, those kind of dynamics, like, what do you think about?
That's a great point. I think we would really be able to, I mean, if you want to have totally individual experiences, that's very easy. You know, that's kind of going to be the default. And if there are parts of the experience that you all want to do together, or work together for a certain exercise or something like that, that would be more than welcome, and really celebrated, because that could be a really unique, yeah, experience to share with each other.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it could go either way.
Yeah. So it's really open to single people, couples, like
Yeah.
whoever is available and interested in this kind of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be helpful for either way, single person and a couple, because like Sarah said, you can do both your individual work and bring it back together as a couple and see where that helps you grow together, and also in the context of the group. Be a lovely play
Mhm.
dynamic between all three of those.
Yeah, and I think it would be really neat to afterwards to have kind of a shared vocabulary of like exercises and experiences and things to try together as a couple, to have like, you know, been introduced them together. Because I know a lot of times like one person will go to a workshop and then try to bring it back to the couple. And, you know, sometimes that works, but it can be nice if you both experienced it and then you're like, yeah, there's just that shared reality around like, oh, this was, you know, we both experienced this together, and
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
starting point at least for play.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add on, regarding the time frame for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then we've also added an optional integration day on Monday for people who want to stay Sunday night and have integration time together within the group setting with Sarah and me holding and facilitating, and then lunch and an afternoon take a trip to the Yuba River together. So that would be really fun, and I think very worthwhile to let the experiences settle and play together a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like this conversation wouldn't be complete without mentioning kind of the pond and the water element on the property, because I just feel like water and, you know, the ability to like play in with the water and in the water is, I mean, not everyone kind of has that erotic connection to water, but I think many of us do. And so I just wanted to presence
Yeah.
that feels important, and kind of a grounding and juicy element of the just the property and where we'll be together, the land.
Yeah. Sarah has been to the pond. Can you share anything about it, Sarah? I mean, sorry, Hannah. I mean, Hannah.
Yeah. Um, it's it's magical, absolutely magical. And it is a place for me that I can't wait to spend nights and days with, because it's very, it, yeah, there's an idyllic, uh, playful space. And um, you, I'm speechless a little bit around it. I definitely, there are places to bask and lay and dive and jump and play and splash and rest, and there's all of that, and there's the sounds of water are there, and the last time I was there was tons of dragonflies and other things just like swirling around, like so much nature. So it's just beautifully nestled into forest nature, and an oasis of
Right.
pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yum,
Hmm.
yum, yum.
Well, um, thank you both so much. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope that other people that are ready for this experience get to come and share it with us. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time out and talking with us, Hannah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Thank you.
To meet you in person, and I really appreciate your curiosity. It's really, curiosity is such a love language for me. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
Questions. Yeah. Really. And I
That's
can't
great.
wait to play in the pond with you. Yeah.
Me too. It's going to be so fun.
Yum.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you both.
Okay.